Hello everyone. In today's lecture, we're going to cover one simple thing, and that is why are fractions so important to us? Now, I know you're all doing hundreds of these examples at school, and you keep asking yourselves, when am I ever going to need fractions? And so this video aims to put that question to bed. The first example is cooking. You might look at a recipe book, and one of the commands might be to add half a teaspoon of salt into your soup. And therefore, without any conceptual knowledge of what the symbol 1/2 represents, you couldn't possibly know how much you have to add to your soup. The second and third example are time and money. Fractions actually occur in everyday conversations. You might hear things such as, I'll meet you there in 1/4 of an hour. Or if 3 of your friends have gone for a meal and you want to split the bill amongst you evenly, you might hear, we'll each pay 1/3 of the bill. And therefore, to avoid awkward situations of not knowing at what time you have to meet your friend, or not knowing how much money you have to pay at a restaurant, you need to have a good grasp of what fractions mean. The fourth and final example is a little bit more complicated, but in my opinion it's the most important one, so please bear with me until the end. If you ask yourself questions such as, how did we manage to send people to the moon and back? You'll see now that fractions play a pivotal role in understanding these complicated questions. So there are many things that we have to understand before getting to the moon. And one of them is gravity. If we throw a ball up in the air, it's not going to end up in space, right? It's going to fall back down. And the way we understand gravity and other complicated concepts is through equations. Some equations are very easy, and you've probably covered before, and others are a little bit more complicated. And you say, well, what's this got to do with fractions? And this is the key insight of this lecture. A lot of equations that are used to represent the world around us, and in particular help us get to the moon, have fractions inside of the equations. So here's a list of a couple equations that have fractions inside them. You don't need to understand what the equation represents. All you need to understand is that these individual equations shown in the page describe a particular detail of the universe. And in order to understand the equations, we first need to understand fractions, because as you see, they are part of the equation. So if we take this simple example, right, this equation allows us to calculate the area of a right angle triangle. But to calculate this quantity, we need to multiply 1/2 by the base and by the height. And that's what we're going to learn in the upcoming lectures. We're going to learn how to multiply, add, subtract, and divide different types of fractions. And the final thought for this lecture is that equations aren't constrained to physics problems. They occur in chemistry, biology, finance, climate change, essentially any subject that is trying to model a particular aspect of the universe will have equations. And as I've just shown you, most of those equations have fractions inside them. So it is a stepping stone into understanding the equations. So if you've liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, and I hope to see you all next time. Bye-bye.